All right, it's Wednesday, April 26th. It's an end of the day SPY recap, and today on the daily chart, you end up with another two down red day. Took out the low of the previous day, held the midpoint of the prior day, and closed near the lows again. First of all, coming into today, after the big red bar yesterday, with very high probability, you were not only going to take out the low of that bar just because it's a big red bar, but also you had these targets right down here that was high probability to reach, and also on the weekly chart it was kind of a double low here, so you anticipated taking out that. Then the question is that the start of even more expanded volatility to the downside, or could that be a possible reversal area? I think the key factor here was when you looked at the monthly chart, or when you're looking at the monthly chart, we know we're coming to the end of the month now and we're failing to the upside, and that's getting very close now with a few days to go to closing to this red kind of shooter looking bar that generally projects to then test the lows of this month into May, and then have targets down below. So the bias was really to the downside. I mean, it's always been to the downside, once you had the two down week and you're below the open of the week, and generally anytime, until you're going to really cross above the midpoint of today to the upside, the bias is always to the downside. The question was, after that first move, and let's get to that, right out of the gates, that's why I bought puts here aggressively right near the open, anticipating taking that out. And then again, the market could have just sliced all the way through and continued much lower, but it decided to do what it typically does with algorithms, takes out lower lows, and then it decides to go to higher highs. So there was an opportunity here to take your small gains, and then once you saw it, you knew this was a key level. So once it paused and headed up, you had to kind of exit the trade there and watch. At that point, it came up and took out. I was watching this whole move up, and I saw it kind of grinding up there, taking out this stop with a big red bar. And I decided to buy puts here at the purple line again, and I shot videos describing that if you want to go back and watch it. At the very least, I thought the pullback should at least come into this fair value gap that formed, even if we were going to head higher and take out those stops. But as it turned out, and then I scaled out there to set up a no-risk trade just to see. Again, I was not surprised at all that you were working towards those lows, and then once you hit those lows, the fact that you couldn't really rebound there, you continued even lower and closed low on the day. But at this point, the main thing was that you didn't really cross the midpoint of the prior day, and your bias was still to the downside. So this was kind of an aggressive but decent opportunity to play the fact that you could come down to those intraday lows again, and that also that the monthly chart is getting ready to close red. So there's going to be all kinds of bias to the downside as we end the week, even if we have a bit of a pause here and continue higher. But frankly, also another thing is we've had very narrow volatility in this range for quite a while, and we've been discussing that. And once the volatility started expanding, you generally expect it to continue to expand in the direction that it broke out. So in this case, that's what seems to be developing. And I wouldn't be surprised to see another red. Sometimes way back, we used to get that a few times. You get red. So anything's possible. We have a little exhaustion risk in the short run, but you're still biased to the downside. So we'll have to see kind of where price goes tomorrow. But on the weekly chart, now that we've kind of it seems like we didn't want to pause here and reverse up. We have some next targets. There's a fair value gap in here to fill. I think we just missed it, so that should go a little lower, and then you can even be heading down to the low of this bar, and the weeks ahead at this point, until we really, now that we really have this two down week established, until we get a reversal week to the upside, you're just biased to the downside. Although, you'll have to be aware of choppiness. If you get the, early morning moves down, great. If not, then look for kind of broadening action to the upside on the short-term basis to look for short trades. Again, until this whole weekly chart turns around. So again, high probability move to take out these lows. This was another aggressive play to the downside and worked out really well, taking out not only the lows of the day, but it couldn't even hold there, and it closed lower. So, that keeps our bias to the downside until proven otherwise. And again, coming to the end of the month, unless something really changes in the next couple of days, it looks like this is going to lead towards lower prices into next month to some extent as well. So let's see how it goes tomorrow.